Once upon a time, in Ahai, a land located between golden hills and rivers that shimmered like glass, a terrible threat loomed. No one could sleep, the stars refused to shine, and even the birds sang in hushed whispers. The village was at war with the neighboring village, and the king of the land had exhausted all his options. It was in fact certain that the rival village would conquer them this time, take their lands, steal their peace, and occupy their village. But just when it seemed like doom was imminent, a small, scaly creature emerged from the shadows, a lizard. He brought the king a secret, dark plot to destroy the rival kingdom. The lizard who made his home in between the cracks of old walls, unidentified, unbothered, and not cared for by the people, was resting in between the cracks of the wall. His current home. When he overheard the rival kingdom's schemes, they were hatching a secret plot to ambush and take King Zagi's kingdom at nightfall, when its villagers had fallen deep into slumber. The lizard didn't belong to any kingdom. He was a free nomad, traveling from one village to another with no permanent place he called home. But he decided to play nice and tip off King Zagi with his findings, telling him how the rival kingdom had planned to invade their village by nightfall. Information from a lizard no one cared for? Still, King Zagi heeded to the warnings and acted fast by positioning warriors. And when the rival kingdom struck the village, instead of taking the kingdom of Ahai by surprise, they themselves were met with a surprise they never expected. The information the lizard had given to the king helped King Zagi capture and defeat his challengers. At last the kingdom was saved. In gratitude, the king did the unthinkable. He made the lizard his royal advisor and trusted spy. From this day, the king proclaimed, "No longer shall you hide in the cracks of the wall. You shall live in the palace among nobles and princes. This shall be your home." The lizard bowed low, his eyes gleaming with pride. But as time passed, so did his loyalty. He began to sneak into the royal pantry, nibbling on the king's finest corn at night. He thought himself clever, for each time the corn went missing, the maids were blamed and punished. The thefts continued, whispers grew, suspicion spread like wildfire. "There is a thief in the palace," the king declared, "and we shall find the traitor." So the king devised a test. He handed a bag of corn to each member of his royal cabinet, one by one, and asked them to guard it for a night. But each morning, their corn would vanish, eaten by the same sneaky lizard who slipped in and out through the cracks in the wall. One by one, nobles were disgraced, and the lizard, he would shake his head solemnly and say, "Your Majesty, such betrayal! I would never let you down." Eventually, only the lizard was left to guard the corn. Of course, he stole from himself. If the corn doesn't go missing by morning, they might begin to suspect me, or worse, they might make me the sole guardian to safekeep the corn. And if that happens, I will never get the chances to enjoy some delicious corn again. Therefore, I will make my home unsafe as well, so the king will have no other choice but to pass the corn to another person's home, and I will continue to steal from them. The lizard schemed in his little mind, so he ate the corn given to him to keep, and when questioned, the lizard denied ever knowing what happened to the corn. He even blamed shadows and ghosts. The king was enraged. He had had enough. "If no one can safeguard my precious corn, then I will do it myself." That night, the king prepared to catch the thief. He filled a fresh sack of corn, but this time he mixed it with tiny stones that looked just like the real kernels. He placed it in the middle of his room, and then he pretended to fall asleep and waited patiently. That night, as the palace slept, the lizard crept in. Greedily, he gobbled the corn and the stones. Crunch! His jaw locked. Choke! A sharp pain pierced his throat. Eyes bulging, he fled to his hut, coughing and gagging. Stones were stuck in the back of his throat. He spent the whole night trying to relieve himself, but he failed miserably. He couldn't swallow what was at the back of his throat, and neither could he spit it out. All he could do was nod, trying to shake the pain away. The next morning, unable to get any sleep due to his suffering, the lizard, pale and trembling, arrived at the council meeting, pretending all was well. "My dear lizard," said the king, "are you all right?" I'm perfectly fine, your majesty," the lizard stammered. But as he spoke, he let out a loud burp, and a shiny yellow corn kernel flew out of his mouth. Gasps filled the room. The king stood. "You were the thief all along." Still the lizard couldn't answer. The stony corn remained stuck in his throat, forcing him to keep nodding, as if agreeing with every accusation. "You betrayed my trust," the king said coldly, "and for that you shall return to the cracks and the cold caves you came from. No more palaces, no more corn, no more comfort." And so the lizard was banished. Till this day, lizards nod their heads over and over, not in greeting, but because of the stone still stuck at the back of their throats, a reminder of greed, betrayal, and the corn that cost them everything. The lizard was once a hero, rewarded with a place in the palace and made the king's advisor. But instead of being grateful, he betrayed the king by stealing corn from the royal pantry. He let the innocent maids be punished for his crimes and even accused other cabinet members when corn continued to go missing, and when the king finally caught the lizard. He was banished from the palace and cursed to forever nod his head, a symbol of living with the painful consequences of his actions. This story reminds us that a single act of dishonesty can undo years of trust, and those who betray kindness for selfish gain often end up alone and ashamed. This is the end of the story. Thank you for watching, and see you again next time.